I sat in front of the mirror, carefully putting in a colourful contact lens for my right eye. I was just a regular cosplayer on TikTok, but today I was modelling for an online game character. I only got this chance thanks to Sarah, who unfortunately got an eye sty right before the photo shoot. Sarah, you just had a small surgery. Are you okay walking alone?
Haha, I still have my right eye. My left eye just needs to be covered for a day. I'll be fine. I'm heading out. Molly, today is a big chance for you. Do your best.
I turned back to continue my makeup when suddenly a loud bang shook the table, knocking everything to the floor. Sarah had fallen, her bag spilling all over the floor, mixing with my makeup items. Sighing, I bent down to help her pick them up. After a while, I finally sent Sarah off and focused on getting ready. Sitting back at my vanity, I put in the left contact lens. Only then did I realise I had grabbed Sarah's lens case by mistake. Luckily, the colour wasn't too different. I took out the lens from the solution and quickly put it on. I stood in front of the camera, confidently striking poses. The flash kept flickering, the shutter clicked rapidly. This was the spotlight I had always dreamed of. After a while, my left eye started itching. I frowned, trying to endure it, but my expression wasn't right, and the photographer had to pause the shoot. A staff member quickly walked over, handing me eye drops and a wet wipe. I used the drops, and the burning sensation eased a bit. I signaled to the photographer that we could continue. Standing in front of the camera again, I forced a smile. My eyes stung, but I held back the discomfort to finish the shoot. That night, I came home exhausted and collapsed onto my bed, too tired to remove my makeup. I yawned, my eyelids heavy. In my restless sleep, my eye started itching. Half asleep, I rubbed it without thinking. A sharp pain shot through my eye socket. It felt like something slipped past my eyeball, sinking deeper into my eye socket, but my eyelids were too heavy to open. The next morning, I woke up with my eyes swollen and bloodshot. The corners were crusted with discharge, so itchy that I kept rubbing them. I lifted my eyelid. Underneath was a huge sty. Looking at myself in the mirror, I bit my lip, worried. I couldn't let this ruin my shoot. Only my left eye was infected. It had to be Sarah's lens. I had a makeup shoot today. I couldn't show up like this. I tried icing it and the burning eased a little. But after 15 minutes, the swelling was still there. I figured the infection had turned into an abscess under my eyelid. Out of options, I pressed on the sty, forcing the pus out. A thick white discharge mixed with blood splattered onto the mirror. The pain was unbearable, but at least the swelling had gone down. Gritting my teeth, I put in my lens as usual and headed to the studio. Standing in front of the camera, the intense lights burned into my eyes. Every blink felt like torture. Both of my eyes stung and tears streamed down uncontrollably. In the end, the shoot had to be stopped. I bowed my head and apologized to the team. As soon as I got home, I rushed to my room to remove my makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, I wiped away the smudged foundation with a cotton pad. Both of my eyes were now swollen, bloodshot. I pulled my right eyelid down and saw tiny white bumps stacked together. Carefully, I used tweezers to remove the lens. Then I pulled my left eyelid, but instead of small bumps, a huge swollen lump bulged in the center. Taking a deep breath, I gritted my teeth and tried to take the lens out, but as I pulled, the edge of the lens scraped against the lump. I could almost feel it bursting like an overinflated balloon. Pus and blood splattered, flooding my eye socket. I screamed in pain, frantically wiping with a cotton pad. The pus soaked through, sticky against my fingers. Trembling, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes, puffy, red, and glistening with fluid. With shaking hands, I pulled my left eyelid again. There, buried in the swollen lump, was the corner of my lens. I trembled in fear, my whole body shaking uncontrollably, Tears streamed down my face as I bolted out of the house. My vision blurred. Something pitch black blocked the corner of my left eye. Panic surged through me as I stumbled down the stairs. I missed a step. My foot slipped. Pain exploded through my body as I crashed down. A scream tore from my throat. Dizziness. Agony. I forced my eyes open and found myself in a hospital bed.
You're awake. You're very lucky. Just some minor head injuries. But your eyes, there's a serious issue. You tried to pop a sty, which led to an infection and an abscess. The CT scan also showed several foreign objects lodged deep in your eye socket. They look like contact lenses. We need to remove them immediately before they put pressure on your optic nerve.
His words left me frozen in shock. My stomach twisted. Without hesitation, I agreed to the surgery. Lying on the cold operating table, my eyes were fixed in place. The yellow surgical light blurred everything in my vision. I couldn't see clearly, but I could hear. The soft clinking of metal tools told me the procedure had begun. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, the sensation of cold metal scraping against my eyeball made me want to scream. It turned out there wasn't just one lens stuck in my eye socket. One by one, the doctor slowly pulled out dry, shriveled contact lenses. I could only lie still and endure the endless torment.
I can't remember how many times I've had this dream, but the fear and helplessness still make my heart ache. That's right. I'm terrified, absolutely haunted by spiders. As a child, I lived on my dad's insect farm, surrounded by spiders. The fear nearly gave me a fatal heart attack, leading my parents to divorce. Now, I live with my mum. My graduation is soon, but Dad didn't reply to my invitation. His last email, 2 weeks ago, proudly announced his success with mutant spider research. I have a bad feeling something went wrong with my dad's research. I've decided to go to his farm and make sure he's safe. It's been almost 10 years since I last set foot in this house. The house was pitch dark, damp, and eerily silent, with only my voice echoing as I cautiously called out, "Dad!" There was just one place left to check. Taking a deep breath, I tried to suppress my fear and turn the doorknob. Suddenly, a swarm of black spiders scurried out from behind the door. My body froze, trembling as I collapsed to the floor. At that moment, someone stepped out of the basement. It was my dad, George, the biologist, silently blowing a strange flute that sent the spiders retreating into the basement. Dad helped me up, his frail hand pale with black veins and dark, sharp hairs like a spider's bristles. Something was definitely wrong with him.
Why are you here, Jax?
I handed him the invitation card. He took it without a word, his cold demeanor cutting deep. Then I noticed something stuck on his eye. Instinctively, I reached out to remove it. It was a strand of spider silk, not something accidentally caught in his eye, but something coming from inside it. Dad jerked back, clearly annoyed by my actions, and rubbed his eye. The strand of silk disappeared without a trace. "Dad, my car broke down. Can I stay here for the night?"
Fine. But stay in your room. Don't wander around.
Seeing Dad's odd behavior, I knew something was wrong, likely because of the spiders. I made an excuse to stay and find out. As a meticulous researcher, I figured Dad would have recorded his entire experiment. I was right. Taking a deep breath, I opened the first folder. Skipping the confusing reports, I clicked on the first video. An and it terrified me. The clip showed a female spider carrying an enormous egg sac. The spider screamed in pain, like a woman about to give birth. But spiders lay eggs, don't they? My suspicions were quickly confirmed. I watched as a massive baby spider broke out of the egg, dragging its mother's insides with it. The hungry spider rushed to its first meal, while the mother lay weak, helpless, and still as her young devoured her. It was so cold-blooded, so cruel. It was more disgusting than any spider or monster I had ever imagined. It took me a moment to regain my composure. I opened the final video, but what I saw was even worse. I was sure this spider was no longer a normal creature. Thinking about how this mutated spider had been born, I feared for my dad. What would happen when those eggs hatched? Suddenly, my dad appeared in front of me, his face furious.
Jax! What are you doing here?
I forced down my fear and rushed to tear off his shirt, hoping what I had seen was just a scene from a sci-fi movie. But I was wrong. These spiders were more dangerous than I had imagined. Each egg was stuck to my dad's skin, with a tiny tentacle piercing his spine. They were living and growing off his spinal fluid. The fear in my chest grew stronger, and I felt dizzy, my hands and legs trembling uncontrollably. Looking up at my dad, I noticed his eyes were slowly turning into those of a spider. I heard him gasp and scream at me.
Ron, get out of here!
He still had his mind. He still cared for me. I had to save him, telling myself that. I grabbed a ruler from the desk and rushed toward him. I shoved him to the ground, using all my strength to crush the eggs on his back. One by one, they cracked open and the baby spiders fell, filling the air with the scent of blood and a foul odor. Suddenly, my dad erupted with strength. He shoved me off, screaming,
Don't hurt my children!
"You've lost it, Dad! I'm your son! I'll save you from these monsters!" I yelled, only to realize, in shock, that the man in front of me was no longer the dad I knew. He had fully transformed into a monster. He shielded the baby spiders like a true mother spider, glaring at me as though I were an enemy trying to harm his offspring. The look in his eyes caused me pain and despair. What could I do to save him? But it was too late. The monster, now enormous and with all the terrifying traits of a spider, stood before me. My body froze, even breathing felt difficult, and my heart began to ache again. My dad's agonizing scream jolted me back. I turned to see the newborn spiders, driven by instinct, making him their first meal. Survival instinct drove me to run. I tried to drag my dad with me, but it was already too late.
Lucid dreaming had always fascinated me. The idea of controlling my dreams, bending reality to my will, was exhilarating. I spent hours reading guides, watching videos, and joining forums to learn the craft. One recurring warning, however, intrigued me the most. Never look into a mirror while lucid dreaming. It was a rule repeated in countless posts. People claimed mirrors in dreams were portals to places your mind couldn't comprehend. But rules were meant to be broken, weren't they? That night, as I drifted off to sleep, I whispered to myself, "This is a dream. I am in control." When I opened my eyes, I stood in a crumbling mansion. The air was heavy, tinged with damp rot. The walls groaned as if alive. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but I had a mission. I wandered through the dim corridors until I found it. An ornate mirror framed in black and silver, taller than me, standing against the far wall. My reflection was hazy, shifting like water. I hesitated, but curiosity pushed me forward. As I peered closer, the surface of the mirror rippled. My reflection vanished, replaced by something else. A scene unfolded before me, fiery chaos. Rivers of molten lava flowed through a barren landscape. Faceless figures writhed in agony, their silent screams haunting. The heat felt real, blistering my skin. Suddenly, the mirror pulled at me, its surface like a vortex. My feet slid forward. Panic surged, and I yanked myself back, knocking the mirror over. It shattered into countless shards, each reflecting fragments of the hellish scene. When I turned around, she was there. Her skin was pallid, almost translucent, veins spidering beneath. Her eyes were empty voids pulling at my very soul.
Leave!
She hissed, her voice echoing in the empty house.
Leave now, or regret it forever!
Before I could react, the dream collapsed into darkness. I woke up gasping, my heart pounding. The room was familiar, comforting, but the dream's intensity lingered. It was just a dream, I muttered, trying to convince myself. My phone buzzed. A last-minute work trip. I had to leave immediately. The journey was uneventful until the taxi pulled up at my lodging for the night. A small, secluded inn. My stomach twisted as I stepped out. The inn was the house from my dream. Every detail matched. The cracked paint, the warped wooden door, even the oppressive air. An older woman greeted me with a kind smile.
Welcome, dear. Let me take your bags. You must be tired.
Her face was eerily familiar. The same hollow eyes, the same pale complexion. "Thank you," I mumbled, my voice shaking. Inside, the house was even worse. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally and the silence was deafening. The woman led me to the living room and gestured toward the sofa.
Rest well,
she said, her smile lingering a moment too long. That's when I saw it. The mirror. It stood in the corner, identical to the one from my dream. My knees went weak. I turned to her, my voice trembling. "Where did you get that mirror?" She tilted her head, her smile never wavering.
Oh, it's always been here.
She left, and I stared at the mirror, paralyzed. It was just a coincidence, I told myself, though deep down, I knew better. Minutes later, she returned with a tray.
Tea?
She offered. I took the cup, my hands shaking. She watched me, waiting. Something about her gaze felt wrong, predatory. Her smile stretched a little too wide, her eyes lingering on me too long. My fingers trembled as I held the cup, every instinct screaming at me not to drink. With a sharp motion, I flung the tea at her. The cup shattered and she recoiled, her face twisting with something unhumanly sinister. Without waiting to see what would happen next, I bolted. Outside, I flagged down a passing taxi, my hands shaking as I climbed in. As the car sped away, relief began to replace my fear. I had escaped, or so I thought. The road was empty, shrouded in a thick fog that seemed to swallow everything beyond a few meters. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. The driver swerved to avoid her, but the car skidded and crashed into a tree. My head slammed against the window, and the world blurred. When I came to, the driver was gone. I was alone in the wreck, surrounded by suffocating silence. Then she appeared, the pale woman, standing just beyond the shattered windshield.
Death is inevitable.
She whispered, her voice echoing in the stillness. I scrambled out of the car, running blindly through the fog until I stumbled upon a small, unlit house. The door was unlocked, and I threw myself inside, slamming it shut behind me. The house was eerily quiet, each room draped in shadows. As I opened a door at the end of the hallway, I froze. There I was, lying on a bed, my chest rising and falling as though in sleep. Is this still a dream? Or am I? Before I could finish, the pale woman materialized behind me.
You've already crossed the line. There's no going back.
I turned to her, my mind racing. If this was a dream, I could wake myself up. I lunged toward my sleeping form, desperate to return to my body. But she was faster. Her Her icy grip closed around my wrist, dragging me backward.
No one escapes their fate.
She hissed. I struggled, kicking and screaming, but her strength was inhuman. Her stomach stretched impossibly wide, revealing an abyss of darkness. With one final pull, she swallowed me whole. They called me Piggy. Not Peggy, not my real name, but Piggy. Because why not? They said it suited me better. A pig in a human's body, rolling in the mud of my own existence. I laughed along at first, pretending it didn't sting when Hannah joked about me breaking a chair in the cafeteria, or when Derek snorted every time I walked by. But no amount of pretending could dull the edge of their cruelty.
Hey, Piggy, you should thank us. At least we're giving you a personality.
Mia said once, smirking as she pointed at my reflection in the school's bathroom mirror. Their laughter echoed in my ears long after they left. I stared at the figure in the mirror, a round, soft girl with puffy cheeks and arms that seemed to expand beyond the frame. I hated her, hated myself, but not as much as I hated them. That's when I found the clinic. The flyer was tucked under the windshield of my old bike. Revolutionary body contouring, fat removal made affordable. The words felt like they were screaming at me. The clinic was tiny and unassuming, hidden in a crumbling building at the edge of the city. Dr. Tran greeted me with a smile that felt too wide, too eager.
You'll love the results.
She promised, her gloved hand gesturing toward a sleek hospital bed in the corner of the room. The procedure was simple, or so she claimed. A vacuum-like device would suck the fat straight out of my body, sculpting me into a thinner, more beautiful version of myself. But it wasn't simple. As the machine roared to life, I felt a searing pain rip through my calf. The fat bubbled and hissed, travelling through translucent tubes into a container that filled too quickly. My skin shrank behind it, sagging like a deflated balloon.
Don't worry,
Dr. Tran said, her voice almost cheerful.
we'll trim the excess skin. It's very valuable, you know. Perfect for burn victims and reconstructive surgery.
I was too woozy to care. They cut away the loose folds and stitched me up. When I looked in the mirror, my calves were smooth, almost sculpted. For the first time in years, I felt hopeful. Hope was fleeting. When I returned to school, the bullying didn't stop. It evolved.
Whoa, check it out.
Hannah sneered, pointing at my uneven legs.
Piggy's trying to become a Franken pig.
They laughed harder, louder. Derek made oinking noises, and Mia asked if I planned to sell the rest of my body for spare parts. My calves looked slimmer, yes, but the rest of me was still a patchwork of rolls and folds. That night, I booked another appointment. This time, it was my face and neck, then my arms. Each time, the pain was worse. The machine sucked and gurgled, pulling pieces of me away, leaving behind a body that felt foreign. Dr. Tran's assistants whispered in hushed tones about how my skin was exceptional. They always seemed more excited than they should have been.
You're doing such a good thing.
One nurse said as she packed my discarded skin into vacuum-sealed bags.
So many patients will benefit from your donations.
Donations? I hadn't signed up for charity. But when they waved away my bills, assuring me that my contributions covered the costs, I didn't complain. Then I had an idea. Why stop with just removing my fat? Why not use my newfound value to teach them a lesson? The plan unfolded in my mind like a perfect script. It started with Derek. I waited for him outside the gym, clutching the bottle of acid I'd bought online. One quick splash, and his screams filled the parking lot. Next was Mia, then Hannah. Each of them writhed under the burning chemical, their once perfect faces and bodies turning into melted canvases of raw, exposed flesh. But I wasn't done. Feigning concern, I rushed them to the clinic. Dr. Tran examined their injuries, her lips tightening.
We don't have enough graftable skin for all of them.
She said, shaking her head.
Not unless...
Her eyes flicked to me. I knew what she was thinking. They begged. Hannah, whose words once cut me deeper than any scalpel, clasped her blistered hands together and sobbed.
Please, Peggy. We'll pay anything. Just help us.
Derek offered his entire savings. Mia couldn't even speak. Her tongue had been burned, but her tear-filled eyes said enough. I suppose I can spare some, I said, pretending to hesitate. I scheduled the procedure for my stomach. As the machine sucked out the last vestiges of my once round belly, I imagined their faces, their desperation. Dr. Tran's team worked tirelessly to graft my skin onto their wounds. The process was excruciating. For them, of course. They screamed as the stitches pulled tight, as my flesh fused with theirs. I watched from the observation window, biting back laughter. But even after sacrificing so much, it wasn't enough.
You'll need more,
Dr. Tran explained.
Their injuries are too extensive.
That's when the arrangement began. My former tormentors, now grotesque patchworks of my flesh, started feeding me. They brought calorie-dense meals, forcing me to eat until my stomach ached. I gained weight quickly, my body swelling back to its old size. But this time I didn't mind. The more I grew, the more they suffered. They watched with hollow eyes as I laid on the table again and again, their futures quite literally growing on my skin. Now, we live in a fragile truce. Hannah, Derek, and Mia hover around me, desperate to keep me alive, healthy, fat. They need me. I'm their savior, their supplier, their punishment, and I've never felt more beautiful. Finally done. Now this old house is ready to welcome its new owner. Hopefully the new tenant won't get too attached to it. I'm Susan, a real estate agent, but all the houses I deal with are old properties rumoured to be haunted. Why? Because we're not after rental commissions. What we really want is the deposit money from unlucky tenants. Tenants who can't handle the ghosts I personally create to scare them away. I'm absolutely confident about this scam. This old house has stood for over 70 years and is decorated in a Gothic style. Despite surviving a fire, the house remains mostly intact. This time, the tenant has paid a hefty amount to rent the entire mansion. So I've meticulously prepared everything to welcome my special guest, and I'm hoping he'll flee from this mansion soon enough. My client this time was a man named Paul. He was pretty young, but his way of dressing was, well, a bit odd. He carefully inspected the house, and while he was at it, I quietly observed him too. His suitcase was compact, but he also carried a bag filled with random stuff. Looking closer, I noticed a few exorcism tools inside, silver daggers, holy water, and a crucifix. Looks like I've run into another religious fanatic, I thought to myself. Paul suddenly asked,
"Are you Christian too? That rosary you're wearing looks quite special."
I was caught off guard but quickly brushed it off. Yeah, my family's Christian. My aunt's even a nun. I glanced at the rosary and explained, it's a gift from her. But honestly, I just wear it as an accessory. Paul agreed to sign the rental contract on the spot. I smirked inwardly.
Looks like this deal is going to be a smooth one.
Before Paul moved in, I secretly installed hidden cameras around the house to monitor his every move and plan my scare tactics. Watching Paul sleep soundly, I smiled with excitement and began my first night of work. A terrifying scream startled Paul awake, making him look anxiously towards the window. At that moment, I vaguely saw his eyes light up. The window had handprints made of glowing water, a bit of red light, and a horrifying scream from the Bluetooth speaker, creating a spooky scene. I eagerly waited for Paul's reaction, but he seemed unfazed and went back to sleep. Looks like I underestimated him, but no worries, the fun is just beginning. The next day, I printed a picture of a human head, put it in a jar, and placed it in the fridge. I sat in front of my computer anxiously waiting for Paul's reaction, but Paul didn't seem scared at all. He looked straight into the camera and bluntly exposed my prank. I also tied a fake ghost made of white cloth to a string, making it fly in the hallway. Watching Paul's reaction, I couldn't help but suspect he was expecting something truly scary to appear. But whatever the reason, one thing is certain. He has no intention of leaving anytime soon, and I won't give up that easily either. This time, I decided to scare Paul myself. I snuck into the house with a spare key, carrying a large human skeleton model. But as soon as I entered, I saw a charred skeleton rushing towards me. Instinctively, I tried to use the remote to stop it, but it was clearly not one of my controllable props. I had encountered a real ghost. My whole body froze, and I tried my best to scream for help. In my desperation, Paul appeared and splashed holy water on the skeleton, making it scream in agony. I stared in shock at Paul and the skeleton, letting Paul drag me away. Paul calmly drew a strange circle and said,
I am an exorcist. This house once belonged to an English landlord who killed many slaves and fed their hearts to his daughter, believing it would cure her heart disease. I will perform a ritual to help their souls find peace.
I scoffed. You're joking, right? This is just another one of your pranks. Paul didn't argue and splashed holy water in my eyes. Suddenly, my vision cleared. Around me, dozens of ghosts appeared, their faces twisted, eyes burning with hatred. They were all staring at me. I felt like my 27-year-old worldview suddenly collapsed. I wanted Paul to say something to me, but he was focused on his exorcism. The ghost of the landlord seemed to sense the danger. He used the mirror to command the slave ghosts to break Paul's protective circle. I was confused about how to help Paul. Suddenly, the wound on my hand heated up. My arm was being controlled. I remembered the wound was caused by that ancient mirror. The landlord must be using it to control me and harm Paul. Just as my fingers were about to pierce Paul's artery, Paul suddenly opened his eyes, stopped my hand, and grabbed my rosary. With just the rosary beads, Paul easily destroyed all the screaming ghosts around us. As I was about to run to hug Paul, a chilling sensation enveloped me. A strange voice echoed in my head.
Finally, that pesky rosary is gone. Now this body will be mine.
I looked in horror at my transparent body. It turned out they had been targeting my body all along, but I was always protected by the rosary. The landlord sacrificed his soul to trick Paul into breaking my rosary so his daughter could possess my body. I tried to scream for Paul's help, but it seemed no one could hear me. Is this the price I have to pay for exploiting ghosts for my own gain?
And finally, the dish you've all been waiting for is here. Today, I'm taking on the challenge of eating this giant pudding in just one gulp. Join me and let's dig in together. I'm Elliot, a pretty well-known mukbanger on YouTube, famous for my ability to devour anything with my big mouth. I slowly swallowed the massive pudding down. Honestly, it was a bit too much for me. Feeling the pudding slide down my throat, stuffing me full, and getting stuck halfway made me want to stop right there, but I had to keep going. This is the only job I've got. Finally, I did it. I beamed at the camera. waving to thank my audience as donations and compliments poured in through the screen. After the live stream ended, I rushed to the bathroom before the giant pudding could come back up. Today's meal was a bit too much for me. After throwing up everything I ate, I felt utterly drained. My jaw ached, and my lips and throat were swollen. The sour stench rising from my stomach made me want to vomit again. Sometimes, I feel like this mukbang job is turning my body into a food disposal machine. Eat, then throw up, never keeping anything down. But being a mukbanger has made me famous and earns me a lot of money. I have a comfortable life without needing to take on any kind of desk job. So, I choose to overlook the minor harm this job does to my body because I believe I'm still young, healthy, and nothing too serious will happen. To keep a steady fan base, I post mukbang videos almost every day. I carefully capture every chewing, biting, and sipping sound, creating the perfect ASMR effect that gets everyone excited. But once the camera is off, it's my own ASMR of screams as I spend hours stuck in the bathroom. Yet I keep eating, and eating more. Because my job is to make everyone feel like food tastes better. Even though I regularly throw up all the food after each live session, my stomach has been growing abnormally large. It feels a bit bloated, but it's not too uncomfortable. My persistence in uploading videos consistently has paid off. My subscriber count has skyrocketed, and along with it, the money I make keeps growing. I'm ashamed to admit that my weight has spiraled out of control. Getting dressed feels like fighting a battle. Tonight, an influencer invited me to attend a Christmas party. This is the first time I will be interacting with people in the industry, and I feel a bit nervous. I tried to appear relaxed, naturally chatting with the people around me. When the music started playing, I immersed myself in the crowd, enjoying the fun as I had always wished. But at that moment, my heart started beating fast to the rhythm of the music, my belly fat jiggling, and my stomach contracting violently. A severe pain hit me, causing my vision to darken. I collapsed to the floor, unconscious. When I opened my eyes, I was already in the hospital, my whole body limp and weak.
You have a stomach hemorrhage and fatty blood. You need to adjust your diet immediately if you want to continue living.
I nodded perfunctorily, his tone making me uncomfortable. I am a mukbanger. How can I eat normally? If I don't stream for too long, I'll lose fans, lose my income, and lose everything. I happened to see a clip of myself fainting at the party last night. Many fans sent messages asking about my well-being. So how can I rest in the hospital? I smiled and typed a reassuring message to everyone. Hello to all my beloved fans. To show my gratitude for your support, tonight I will be hosting a special live stream that will last until New Year's Eve. A live stream featuring traditional dishes from various countries for the new year. And the 10-hour countdown starts now. After spending one day in the hospital, I immediately found a way to escape and began preparing for this special live stream. 5 hours passed, and I tried to eat and chat leisurely, but the amount of food was truly overwhelming. 9.5 hours passed, and my mouth was so sore, it almost lost feeling. My stomach was bloated like a balloon, hard as a rock. But I encouraged myself. There was only one dish left. I was sure I could do it. And here is the most exciting dish of the night: a stuffed pork leg. Without making you wait any longer, let's swallow this together to welcome the explosive moment of New Year's Eve. My wide mouth could encompass the pork leg, but as it went down my narrow throat, it filled my entire throat. I struggled to breathe, tears involuntarily streaming down. Hang in there, Elliot. Just a little more and this challenge will be over. At that moment, the countdown to New Year's Eve outside began. 10, 9, 8, 7. My stomach twisted with each count. Then I heard a loud bang coming from inside my own body. Outside, fireworks were exploding, and I vaguely heard the sound of an ambulance siren. Could it be that a fan called 911 for me? I must look terrible right now, right? My consciousness faded until I couldn't think anymore.
Life felt like a luxurious dream, each whim effortlessly satisfied by the wealthy men, enchanted by my youthful charm and beauty. Being a sugar baby had its perks: exclusive apartments, designer dresses, first-class vacations, and extravagant gifts. I was admired, pampered, and envied. And whenever a patron failed to fulfill my increasingly lavish desires, I moved swiftly and effortlessly onto the next, my heart untouched, my conscience clear. This time, my target was Kurt, a celebrated fabric collage artist, renowned for transforming simple cloth into mesmerizing works of art. He was a man whose immense wealth far surpassed that of anyone I had ever been with. But more than just buying me expensive things, he spoke to me as if I was something rare, something precious.
Jess, you're my muse. I want to show you something no one else has seen. My sanctuary. Come with me to Paradise Island.
The name itself thrilled me. I imagined private beaches, candlelit dinners, a sun-soaked villa filled with art and opulence. Giddy, I told my best friend about it that same night. Her reaction, however, was not what I expected. She asked, her voice hushed.
Are you sure this is a good idea? I've heard weird things about Kurt. Girls who dated him before. They just disappeared, deleted their socials, cut off everyone.
I laughed it off. Who wouldn't want to disappear from social media when they're actually living it up in some lavish mansion? Ignoring my best friend's warnings, I decided to go with Kurt. The yacht ride to the island filled me with anticipation. And when we finally arrived, I was left almost speechless. The lavish old mansion rose majestically from the lush greenery, like something pulled straight from a dream. It was beyond anything I had imagined. I didn't see the way Kurt watched me from behind, not with affection, but with something colder, more calculating. Inside, the mansion was filled with fabric portraits, hundreds of them, each one a depiction of a woman, crafted from layers of different textiles that somehow captured the unique beauty of every face. They looked startlingly lifelike. I had no idea what kind of fabric Kurt used, but it looked uncannily like real skin. Drawn by curiosity, I stepped closer to one of the pieces and instinctively reached out to touch it.
Please don't. They're very special to me.
I lowered my hand, offering a polite smile. They're stunning. They almost look real.
That's because they are.
I assumed he meant emotionally real, artistically compelling. I didn't question it. The first few days were bliss. Sunbathing, drinking wine on the terrace, long conversations about beauty and inspiration. But then, little things began to unsettle me. While swimming in the pool, I spotted an earring lying at the bottom, delicate, old-fashioned, and completely out of place. At night, I heard tapping on my window, and once when I pulled back the curtains, there was the faint imprint of a hand, smeared and ghostly, pressed against the glass. In the bathroom, the water sometimes ran black for a second before turning clear again. I told Kurt. He smiled calmly.
Old plumbing. tropical animals. Nothing to worry about.
But I was worried, more than worried. I wanted to leave.
Just let me finish your portrait. One more day. Then I'll take you back.
That night, I dreamed of a woman crawling toward me on all fours. Her body twisted, her face missing. She whispered something that chilled me even in sleep.
Get out! Before he gets you too!
I woke up in a cold sweat and packed my bags. I didn't care about the painting or the promise of paradise anymore. I just wanted out. Everything felt terrifying. Nothing about this place was normal. As I crept through the darkened hallway, the portraits on the walls seemed different. Their eyes followed me. Their expressions, once serene, were now pleading. I paused in front of a new painting, one I hadn't seen before. The girl was young, beautiful, her mouth slightly parted like she wanted to scream. It smelled wrong, like rust and something sweet rotting underneath. I reached out despite myself. The canvas felt soft. A lock of real hair fluttered to the ground. The painted skin peeled at my touch, wet, red, and warm. I screamed. Then Kurt was there.
Where are you going, Jess? Your portrait isn't finished.
I turned and ran. I slipped through the nearest door, not caring where it led. All I knew was that I had to get away from Kurt. Every cell in my body screamed that something about him was dangerously wrong. The room was littered with scraps of fabric, but they weren't just ordinary cloth. They had fallen from what was left of bodies. I looked down and saw her, a girl my age, her eyes wide open and unblinking. Her skin had been peeled away in strips, revealing raw muscle and exposed bone. Beside her, her hair was tied neatly in a ribbon, like a prop. Realization crashed over me, shattering every illusion I'd held dear. Kurt hadn't simply immortalized beauty on canvas. He trapped it cruelly within layers of paint, flesh, and agony. All those silent, beautiful girls, forever frozen, were now masterpieces on his walls. Kurt stepped into the room, holding a knife and a sewing needle. He walked to the body and began to work, gently applying her flesh to a canvas, humming as if lost in thought.
She was lovely, but you, Jess, you'll be the masterpiece.
He looked at me with admiration, not malice, as if he truly believed what he said.
You should feel honored to be remembered forever, to never fade.
I backed away, hands shaking. My scream rose and was swallowed by the thick, silent walls. No one knew I was here. No one would come looking. Paradise Island was a graveyard, and soon I'd be another face on the wall, watching, forever silent, forever pleading. Run. While you still can. Mukbang was everywhere. Everyone was doing it. Every time I opened YouTube, someone was stuffing food into their mouth like they were on a timer. The louder the slurping, the more views. I figured if they could do it, I could too. I set the lights, curated a pastel aesthetic, a table full of noodles, mochi, chicken wings, sauce dripping like blood. Then, reality hit. I didn't even make it through 1/5 of the spread. My stomach clenched. I vomited midstream. No one watched. No one cared. That night, I realized something cruel and honest. Normal doesn't trend anymore. People don't follow you because you're good. They follow you because you're memorable, weird, uncomfortable, unforgettable. So I pivoted to makeup. beauty content always had loyal eyes. I wasn't a guru, but I knew enough. Contour tricks, dewy foundation, liner wings sharp enough to kill. I started going live, trying looks, doing get ready with me, whispering affirmations with fake confidence. And then it happened. In the middle of one stream, while demonstrating a serum dropper, a drop slipped past my lips. It tasted like perfume and ammonia. I gagged, my face twisted in revulsion. The comments exploded. They called it iconic, chaotic energy, too real. I didn't expect it to go viral, but the next day, the clip had over 600,000 views. People shared it, memed it, reenacted it. She ate the glow. Me accidentally eating shampoo as a kid. For the first time in my life, I was trending. PR packages started arriving. Lipsticks, masks, foundation sticks, perfume oils. Brands asked me to unbox, to review, to smile prettier. I felt like I'd made it. But fame is like sugar on the tongue. Sweet, fast, and then gone. A week later, views tanked again. The brands moved on. The inbox went dry. I paced my tiny apartment, eyes twitching from caffeine and ring light glare. I needed to be shocking again. I needed something grotesquely beautiful. What if I combined mukbang with makeup? The first time was rough. I applied blush, posed for the camera, and bit into the compact. The powder crumbled in my teeth, dry and bitter like old chalk. My tongue went numb. My throat itched. I forced a smile. It smells good. I lied. So it must taste good, right? I edited it to perfection. Bright filters, jazz music, kawaii overlays. Then I uploaded. Next morning, 2.7 million views. People were horrified and obsessed. Some mocked me. Some called me mentally ill. But others thought I was faking it. It's just candy shaped like makeup. She's trolling. No way she actually ate that. The crunch sound is edited. They thought I was a liar, so I decided to prove them wrong. I scheduled a live stream. Real makeup mukbang, nothing fake. Watch me eat. I arranged the table like a banquet from hell. A lip gloss charcuterie. Sheet masks folded like crepes. Serum-filled wine glasses. Cotton pads soaked in toner, stacked like macarons. The viewers flooded in. 20k viewers, 50k, 90k. I raised a lipstick to my mouth, bit down. The wax snapped like bone. Bitter oil filled my mouth. I chewed slowly, staring straight into the lens. Comments flew by. She's actually doing it. WTF. Art? This is art. The more I ate, the easier it got. I found textures I liked. Glossy, velvety, crumbly. There was something deeply satisfying about it, like I was feeding a hunger I never knew existed. My body didn't like it. Not at first. I got dizzy. My tongue swelled. My stomach felt like it was lined with fire. But I didn't stop, because the numbers kept rising. I was finally being seen. The brands dropped me, of course. Some sent cease and desists. Others ghosted me. But new people found me. Dark corners of the web that celebrated extremity. They dared me to go further. Drink setting spray. Eat a face mask whole. Let's see you swallow glitter. And I did. Every time. Soon, I couldn't go a day without it. Off camera, I snacked on powder compacts. I kept a palette by my bedside like comfort food. My skin turned raw. Red patches crept up my neck. My eyes leaked. I scratched until I bled, but I covered it up. With more makeup. Always more makeup. For my magnum opus, I planned the beauty banquet. I spent days curating it, baking foundation into cookies, melting lipstick into sauces, turning mascara into syrup. I lit candles, adjusted the camera, scheduled the live stream. When I went live, 100,000 people joined within minutes. The chat screamed. Some were terrified. Some were mesmerized. I was high on validation. I bit into a sponge. It tasted like heaven. My throat tingled. My chest bloomed with warmth. I kept eating. Then, I noticed the rash. Tiny red dots swelling into blisters. My skin was bubbling. My neck looked like boiling wax. Comments flooded. Is this makeup or disease? Filter? No filter? Turn off the stream. But I couldn't stop. I was so close to hitting 1 million live views. So I smiled, teeth smeared with glitter, and swallowed another mask. Then it hit. My throat clenched, like fingers inside me twisting. I couldn't breathe. My vision spiraled. I reached for water, but my arm didn't respond. It just dangled, twitching, like a broken puppet. I collapsed, face first into the table of cosmetics. My cheek burst open on the corner of an eyeliner tube. Blood mixed with blush. The comments kept flowing. Is this performance art? OMG, she's actually dying. Call someone? But no one did. Now I live in fragments, in clips, in sound bites, in every girl who thinks a little glitter in her soup might be cute. You think I'm gone? I'm not. I'm in your algorithm, in every viral makeup prank, in every beauty challenge that goes just a little too far. So next time someone eats something for laughs, next time you watch and say, she's just faking it, remember me, because I wasn't faking. And once you let attention inside, it never stops eating.
My mother told me stories every night before bed. She would curl beside me, wrapping her tail around us both. One night, though, her story was different. She told me about the 3 little pigs. It started like the tale everyone in the forest knew. The pigs outsmarted the big bad wolf and lived happily in their brick house. But in her version, her voice trembled near the end.
And then those 3 pigs, they ate the poor wolf while he was still alive.
Why do they say wolves are dangerous, Mama? We didn't even do anything bad.
That's what they want you to believe.
I stared at her, wide-eyed and silent. That was when I noticed the scar on her head, a bald patch where no fur had grown back. I had asked about it once before. She hadn't answered.
Never trust pigs. They are the cleverest, most deceitful creatures in the forest. They're the most dangerous. Promise me you'll never go near them.
I promised. Though I didn't understand why the forest feared wolves like us, while the pigs were loved. I held on to her words not because I believed them, but because she believed them so deeply. That changed the day I saw them. I was wandering along the edge of the woods when a tomato rolled into my paw. It was still warm from the sun. As I bent to pick it up, I looked up and saw 3 pigs just a few steps away. Their baskets were filled with tomatoes. All 3 were smiling. Something about those smiles felt wrong. I raised the tomato. I just wanted to give it back. I think you dropped this. They didn't reply. One of them threw a tomato at my face. It splattered across my muzzle. then the second, then the third. They laughed and walked away like it was all a game. I didn't want revenge. I only wanted to know why. So I ran after them. They didn't run. Before I could react, they shoved me into the dirt. One pinned me while the others laughed, pulling out a pair of buzzing clippers. I screamed, terrified, as they sheared off patches of my fur. My skin stung. I howled at a sound I didn't even recognize as my own. That was when I heard voices approaching. Others in the forest had heard my cries. The pigs moved fast. They smeared tomato juice onto themselves, groaning and collapsing. A group of animals arrived in the clearing just as they hit the ground. Within seconds, they looked like victims. And I, mouth stained red, half-shaven and trembling, looked exactly like the monster they needed me to be. No one looked closely. No one asked what had happened. A wolf attacked them, someone said. The crowd rushed me. I curled into a ball, trying to shield myself, but their hooves and claws came down without mercy. I didn't fight back. I only cried. Then they left, satisfied, certain they had saved someone from a predator. I walked home alone. That night, I finally understood what my mother had tried to teach me. The truth didn't matter. The forest only believed what made them feel safe. After that, I stayed inside. I didn't speak. I didn't look outside. Only my mother remained. One morning, she told me she would go find food. Before leaving, she turned to me and said,
"Don't open the door for anyone."
She never came back. By nightfall, my hunger gnawed at me, but fear was louder. Eventually, I stood by the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of her return. What I saw instead made my breath stop. The 3 pigs were sitting by a fire just outside the trees, turning something over the flames that looked like a tail. One of them looked up and met my gaze. I dropped below the window. Moments later, I heard a knock. I crept to the door and peered through the crack. It was her face. I opened the door, hope rising in my chest. But it wasn't her. It was them. And in their hands they held her head. They stepped forward with a sack. I turned and ran. I ran until the air burned in my lungs. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. I knew they were following, certain they'd already won. They caught me. One dragged me down. Another pinned my arms. I screamed, but nothing came out. My voice was already gone. They cut off my ears. They pulled out my teeth. They stripped away my fur until I was raw and trembling. I wasn't a wolf anymore. And they weren't pigs. They put on my fur. They wore my face. They became the predator the forest had always feared. That night they hunted. They tore through the trees, killing rabbits, lambs and deer. They left behind torn bodies and blood. And in the morning, they cried. They told the forest they had been attacked again, that the wolf had returned, that they had barely survived. They claimed he had escaped, injured but alive, hiding somewhere in the shadows, and the forest believed them, because it was easier. Now I lie here, deep in the woods, my body broken and bruised. I try to move, but everything aches. My breath is shallow. My vision is fading. I can't speak. I can only listen to the voices drawing closer. The forest is coming. They think they found the monster. I hear the pigs among them, pointing toward where I lie. One of the sheep shouts that it's time to end this, that the wolf must be destroyed. One of the pigs walks past me and pauses. He leans in just enough so that I can hear his voice.
You see? They only believe what we want them to believe. In the end, it's the winners who get to rewrite the story. And now, goodbye.